Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn into the left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger. Let's see, well, we got a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, put it down. Tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9 all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever's here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around. Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday evening's live stream. I have to say, I was going to say it's stunning out there, but it's no longer stunning. There are big grey clouds, and who knows, it's going to get wet. The garden is wet. So maybe the grass at Wadswick will grow, which will be a great thing. We have Ron Wilson sitting in the green room waiting. So later on tonight, we'll be learning about all things Catalina, by the end of which I'm sure we'll all be able to just jump in and fly Catalina. How difficult can it be? Probably quite difficult, actually. News of the brand new BMAACEO. There's a few too many letters there, aren't there? All sorts of airfield staff. Strategic Airfield Network has just announced it's reached 200. Hopefully not including Nottingham, which we'll also talk about. Otherwise, that will drop it down to 199 again from tomorrow, which is bad news. Anyway, enough of all that. Big thanks to SkyDemon for supporting this. Big thanks to you for watching it. If you'd like to do us a favor, if you'd like to help, do us a favor, click like and click subscribe to the YouTube channel. Well, click subscribe to everything. The YouTube channel will be a good start. So thanks very much, everyone. And here is today's top tip from SkyDemon.
Hi, I'm Hannah from SkyDemon, and this is this week's top tip.
One of the options in the logs menu is the debriefing pack, which allows you to generate a document containing lots of useful information about the selected log. It includes a map with your track log overlaid, the virtual radar showing a vertical profile of the flight, and some general flight statistics like flight time and blocks times. Here we can see a post-flight pilot log with the actual times of arrival at the waypoints in your planned route. And there's also a list of significant events during the flight, such as airspace that you went through and airfields and waypoints that you passed. The debriefing pack is a PDF and it can be printed out, saved or shared by email.
For more information, go to our website, skydemon.aero.
I was just thinking some of that could be like a surprise. It's like Hannah says, significant events like airspace you went through. Wait, what?
The first time I looked at a briefing pack, I went, whoa, oh no, that was okay.
It's like here are all your infringements.
Yeah, there's probably a box like email this automatically to the CA.
Yeah,
auto-populate an MOR form for you.
Exactly. The other thing. And I'm not sure where it's connected, is I love it when you can output the Google Maps or the Google Earth stuff from SkyDemon. Because that is, if you haven't done that, that is worth doing. It's fascinating.
Is it KML file?
Yeah.
KML, isn't it? And that you need Google Earth on your machine. That's
a fun one to do. So.
It is a pretty fun one to do, isn't it? You can stretch your hours flight out to a lot longer.
I know, yeah. Talking of fun things, it would be good to know what the weather is doing. And I think Simon has recorded, isn't it? So I'm not holding out much hope, but I'm hoping that this wind is going to go away.
You like the weather? Here we go.
Yes, please.
Hi again, hope that you're well this evening. Apologies for not being live, but here's your forecast for the weekend. And it's a mixed weekend. There are some windows in there, so it's not looking too bad at all. This is the forecast for tomorrow, for Friday. Troughs clearing away from the southeast on Friday morning, taking some showers with them. Some of those could be quite heavy. I think bases here could be down at 2,000 feet, tops at perhaps 20,000 feet. Some QNIMs in there as well, just to be aware of. Up towards the northwest of Scotland, more cloud and marginal conditions here, thanks to outbreaks of rain, 1,000 to 2,000 foot bases, tops about 12,000 feet. For most other areas, though, actually, it's a decent day. Ridge of high pressure building in from the west, so conditions not bad at all. 3,000 to 4,000 foot bases, tops at about 10,000 feet. But a few showers in Ireland, and then a general increase in cloud across Ireland as this warm front moves in during the course of the day. On to Saturday, low pressure crossing us on Saturday, and you see here on the cloud ceiling forecast all those yellows and oranges. Really, that's not good news, because that tells us that much of Scotland, much of Ireland, much of Northern England, much of Wales, the Midlands into Eastern England, all non-VFRable. Heavy periods of rain crossing England, Wales, during the course of Saturday morning and probably not clearing properly until the afternoon. Heavy showers in Scotland, most of them across western Scotland. But just notice across southern England, although we've got this cold front that moves through, yes, it's a windy gust of 35 knots or so. Actually, the cloud ceilings are going to be lifting. So full 1,000-foot bases here, tops at about 10,000 feet, and the showers tending to die away. But I think it's just going to be so windy. It's not going to be a very pleasant day. And then on to Sunday, and a better day for Sunday. Some showers affecting western coast and hills, but generally it is a VFR-able type of day. We've got bases of around about 3,000 to 4,000 feet. The top's about 12 to 15,000 feet. Always a higher risk of catching some showers down these western coast and hills where there could be thundery, but overall not bad. Winds westerly is quite brisk, 15 to 18 knots, probably gusting up to 25 to 30 knots, particularly over exposed western areas, but generally it's not bad at all. Now, rapidly racing towards us is Aviation Weather School. My next live online course will be presented entirely by me, and it's going to be held over the consecutive Tuesday evenings of next Tuesday, the 10th of June, and the following Tuesday evening of the 17th of June between 6:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. So this is your opportunity to build your weather confidence, to actually get to grips with weather properly, and I'll show you exactly what you need to know in order to be able to spot weather windows up to 5 days in advance. If you've not been yet, go to weatherschool.co.uk and have a look at the reviews, have a look and see what other pilots have said. I know that a lot of you who are watching tonight are booked onto the course, so it would be super to see you there. If you're not, get in there now and you can book your place. And the beauty of this is you get to watch a recording of each of those sessions for up to a week afterwards, so you don't actually have to attend the sessions live. Go and book your place now, weatherschool.co.uk. More information there, and I will see you next week. Whatever you're doing, have a safe flying weekend. Bye for now.
There you go.
I'm not sure if sunny but 30 knots gusty on Sunday is floating my boat.
I heard 35 knots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's cub flying weather for you.
No, I'm looking for cub flying weather at the moment, and I'm not seeing a lot. So
as we mentioned in yesterday's SkyDemon, members only, Wednesday afternoon, I was flying. I don't know if it was Tuesday. I was flying on Tuesday. I can't Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day it was. And it was super windy, but the 182 coped quite well. Until I saw this kind of aircraft in the distance, which I crept up on. It's a bloody tiger moth getting bounced everywhere. I thought, I don't know who was flying. I thought that tiger moth will probably be out flying on Saturday, I think.
It's like this wind will not stop us. Talking of wind not stopping, Annabelle says, looks okay for Cost for Inertia on Sunday. If anyone's heading there, come and say hi. I'll be with the Cirrus in the static display doing BWPA stuff. Nice. Go and see Annabelle and say, and if you're a Fly Club member, say thanks for organising lots of landing fees.
Yes, absolutely. We'll come to those later. Right, on to the news. Dave, you're up first.
Okay, yep. There's a new chief executive for the British Microlight Aircraft Association, the BMAA. It's Owain Jones, who's someone here, pictured in the middle here, I should say. It's Owain Jones, or some will know as the organiser of the World Microlight Championships held in the UK last summer, very successfully by all accounts. Owain will start the new job on the 1st of August, replacing outgoing chief executive Rob Hughes. Those are big boots to follow, as Rob is credited with all sorts of steps forward for the association. Owain was chosen from a tough field of 50 applicants, said the BMAA. 8 of those were shortlisted, 5 were interviewed, and the final choice came down to 2 very strong candidates. The BMAA chairman, Tim Burrow, said both candidates had clearly demonstrated strong leadership skills and previous experience in building organisations while working within strictly regulated environments. The factor that propelled Owain ahead was his passion, enthusiasm and vision for the BMAA. So what do we know about Owain? Well, first of all, he's a keen pilot and he flies a P&M Quick R Flexwing Microlight. So he's one of those, the Flexwings. But he promises to be very fair and with fixed wings as well. His background is in education, and for the past 5 years, he's been development director at a Heritage Skills Academy at Bristol Heritage. Before that, he was a head teacher, deputy head and teacher at various schools in the South Oxfordshire area. Owain said, I'm thrilled to be appointed and excited to be the new chief executive. Being able to combine my professional experience with one of my passions is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. Please be patient, as it will take me time to adjust from wearing a member's hat. He's been a member since 1988, adapting to this exciting role. Sounds like they've got a good guy there.
Yeah, and we say big shoes to fill, but also a great point to kind of step in. Because Rob's put a lot of things in place. The whole association, the association as a whole, has kind of done great work in the 600 kg category, hasn't it? So,
and of course they've moved to these brand new premises out of some dusty old offices in the back of Deddington. So it's in a good place at the moment, the BMAA.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we look forward, undoubtedly, if we haven't already asked him to come in for an interview, we'll be asking him to come in for an interview. So you can expect to see him on the live stream at some point. We will let his feet under the table first.
Yes.
We'll give him a week or two. Okay, right. Ed.
Me. And have you been sat at home going, what I really need for my home built is I need a hybrid electric powertrain, but where can I go to buy one? Well, the good news is that you can go to Volt Aero now, who will sell you their HPU 210, which is it's a hybrid electric propulsion system that they've been developing, obviously, for their Casio family of regional aircraft. As you can see, it's not a small product. It's the combination of an electric motor and a Kawasaki H2SX thermal engine. And you're going, thermal engine? What nonsense is this? That's obviously just a nice eco name for a fuel burning engine. Now we call them thermal engines. The thermal engine will provide a maximum power of 150 kilowatts. That's about 203 horsepower. And up front, you'll see an electric motor that's 60 kilowatts. Can bring them together, and you've kind of got the equivalent power of a kind of 300 horsepower Lycoming. And I was looking at this, going, well, it's a big package. Maybe that's kind of the similar sort of size, a big 6-cylinder engine. So it'll be interesting to see where this ends up in the market. I don't know. Clearly, this is probably going to be not a cheap thing. And there'll need to be a sizable home built. It's not like you're going to go, oh, I quite fancy putting one of those on my Jabiru, because I think your Jabiru would fall on its nose if you did that. So, anyway, so that product was unveiled at Volt Aero showing at France Air Expo, which opened today in Lyon in France. And Jean Botti, who is Volt Aero's CEO and Chief Technology Officer, said a new category of airplanes will benefit from our patented proven hybrid technology. So it'd be interesting to see where this goes. But they've got 185 flight hours on their Casio S flying testbed. So I'd say probably still some work to do there. And it's a classic, isn't it? I think sometimes is put your non-certified thing, you offer it to the home built world, where some development can go on, maybe.
I'm going to stick my head above the parapet here and say I'm not sure it's going to go very far in the world of general aviation.
I have to say, I am Mr. Optimism, but I'm not sure anyone is going to go, oh wow, that's exactly what I was waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, there may be some applications that I'm not really familiar with. There may be some kind of large droney one-time operation kind of things that who knows. The press release kind of gave the impression of, hey, we're opening this up to the experimental home built world, and you go, what? You must be joking. Who the hell's what? I mean, maybe the RV10, but not even a big Jodel, or I mean, I think, it must have a different. I don't know. Who knows? It's interesting. Kawasaki chose Volt Aero as kind of like their first foray into sort of public. We'll sell you an engine kind of thing.
Yeah, and obviously that 4-cylinder engine is the basis for. Obviously, we saw at Aero Friedrichshafen, Kawasaki going, "Hey, we're getting into the general aviation engine market," and that engine with a gearbox forms part of what will be their future certified offering. So,
if you notice, there's like on the electric drive shaft, there's 3 torsional vibration dampers there.
Yeah.
But, I'm no engineer, but I know the diesel people, the diesel engine developers, had sort of torsional vibration dampers coming out of their ears to try and dampen the power stroke, as it were.
Yeah, and there's a lot of when you look at that, there's a lot of things to take into account when you're putting it in an aeroplane, because you think there's even like cooling. There's a cooling system on the front for the gearbox.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess time will tell. Time will tell, won't it? It'll probably, yeah, we should do a show one day about all those things that we were talking, the equivalent things that we were speaking about 20 years ago, and see if anything.
Yeah, and as Pete Jeffcoat says, where are the batteries? Well, that's another thing, isn't it? Though obviously, because it's a combination, and the thermal, the basically 4-cylinder motor, that's probably 2/3 of a whole package. So you're only going to need smaller batteries. So.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, Who knows, Johnny?
Yeah, some airfield news now. The Strategic Aerodrome Network have reached a milestone of 200 airfields now as part of the list that they've been putting together. And a lot of that has come from hospital helipads, which are now included in the network, as they've been deemed vital to survival of critically ill patients, which kind of makes sense. So SAN, the Strategic Aerodrome Network, is put together by Anne Bartleby and Louise Southern of UK VFR Flight Guide. And we've got a list on the website of some of the metrics of the airfields involved. And I've just been looking through some of the stats. Only 9 of them are open 24/7, which is kind of surprising, but not surprising.
Yeah.
I think you'd want more airfields open all the time as part of a strategic network. And only 8 of them have got METAR or TAF capability. Again, probably says more about airfield infrastructure generally than anything else. But yeah, you can go and download the full high-res list of all of the airfields that are included and helipads that are included on the website, on the fly.co.uk news story. And there are some quite obvious ones missing that we've talked about before, the likes of Gloucester, that's not on there. And there are a few others which might surprise you. So turning to other airfield news, there was some forum chat about airfield pilot guides, which was kicked off by somebody who noticed Oxford's basically arrival and departing procedures was 19 pages long, which people felt was huge.
This is VFR, VFR only.
But yeah, VFR only, yes. So 19 pages, which we thought was enormous. But then other people chimed in with Wickham Air Park, which apparently is 27 pages. And so far in the lead is Blackbush with 29 pages. So if you know of any bigger pilot guides, do let us know, because we should create our own list.
The only the only document I know that's bigger is the flight procedures for Oshkosh, but I think that's fair. That's 32 pages, but that is for 4 different runways and like 365 different approach configurations and
12,000 aeroplanes in 1 week.
Yeah,
most of them in 1 day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, and of course, I think the one you have to hold up as an example of how simple you can make it. And all airfields, I'm not trying to diss all of the other airfields because everywhere's different, but the Popham Microlight Fair had 1 single page, which was pretty. And I flew into Oxford the other day, and I have to say it was one of those. It's a perfect example of you kind of read it, you go, oh, there's a lot of stuff to read here. The actual flying in bit is like super simple, super easy. Some really good people there. Paying the bill was a little bit okay. I was there for a meeting, so it was a business thing. But I think it was over 50 quid for like a landing and parking for an hour and a half or something. So it was
for that much money, did you become owner of 1 square foot of the airfield?
I didn't, and I suspect I probably could have used the pilot's lounge and snagged myself a free coffee or something, but which I didn't do. But yeah, anyway, it was good. It was good. Right, talking of airspace, which we kind of weren't, but we're going to talk about
2 more Ians. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Oh, what else have I run out of pictures for you?
Back to Gloucester. We've heard that the decision on the sale of Gloucester Staverton will be announced on Thursday, the 26th of June, so 3 weeks today. So hopefully we might have some news of that on the live stream that week. I saw an interview with Jason Ivey, who's the MD, last week, who said it's definitely going to be sold continue to run as an airport. So that's
good.
More Gloucester news. And then finally, it's worth just remembering that Nottingham City Airport is due to close tomorrow. Vistry Group, who own most of the site, issued a notice to the operator Truman Aviation back in March, with deadline of the 6th of June.
So that's it. After tomorrow, there will be no more Nottingham.
And when an airfield goes, it's almost impossible to imagine it replaced.
Yeah,
sadly.
Absolutely. Right. Are you done, Johnny? I do apologise.
Yeah.
Okay, you may have seen a consultation that was come out about the airspace design people. Basically, the CA decided that they wanted to do a kind of single entity to be responsible for UK airspace design and also to run the changes going through the airspace modernisation programme. Well, they went out to consultation. They decided that job would be best handled by NATS as a contract, which of course doesn't worry anybody at all. The fact they're owned by the airlines has got nothing wrong with that, is there? Interestingly, they did in the consultation. They did actually kind of put out that there were quite a few people who went, "Oh, how is that going to be transparent? And how will they do that fairly?" And so they decided that in light of the consultation, we're going to clearly define the mandate, the objectives, the accountability mechanisms. We're going to address concerns about how they'll balance operational, environmental, and community considerations, and we'll clarify the scope. ACOG, which is yet another one of the many Quango type things around that, will still be managing it, but it won't be managing the London one, which is the big one that UCADS are going to kick off with, because they've been superseded by UCADS in that, which is kind of interesting. So we can expect to see it happen. So I guess the real thing to say about this, though, to be honest, is that airspace changes and massive airspace changes like this tend to happen really slowly. This is a massive project, and the Chancellor has found the money for it, and you'd have seen puff pieces on Radio 4 about how it's going to be better, how everything's going to go in a straight line, etc., etc. It's a massively complicated situation. If you look at the airspace at the moment, you go, "Oh, what have we got?" And you definitely wouldn't get to, you wouldn't start where we are now to get to where we want to go, but that's what we got, as it were. So I suspect.
They've been talking about airspace modernisation for at least 15 years. It's taken them 15 years to get to the point where they're about to talk about it a bit more.
I think that's very true, and I think I do wonder whether any of these changes, any of us, well, maybe Johnny, any of us will actually be around and flying to see them. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, interestingly, just as a kind of flip side to that, the FAA are modernising. They're not modernising their airspace, but they're modernising their whole air traffic control system. And they've got a two-day in-person and virtual event coming up, I think next week, where we're looking for bright and innovative people to come and tell us how they're going to A, find more air traffic controllers, B, train them, C, replace all the radars with modern systems and the comms and the towers and everything. They are talking about a massive project that they want to get done in next to no time. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see that. I wonder if that's going to send anyone over to bid for that contract.
Colin Wilkinson is nervous about that illustration you showed. He said, "Are there 3 drones on that frontispiece for the airspace consultation?" It's like proportional representation. It's not
really like spot the ball, but here you go. Have another look. What have we got?
There's hundreds of them. One at the bottom.
That's the risk. It's like 3 drones. I don't know.
There
might be. Look at them. They're all lurking.
3 drones. Yeah, I did. This page is cropped a little bit. There might be some other bits somewhere else.
There's drones going off into the distance.
There is. The Chinook pilot flying opposite direction through the airport traffic is well, he's probably just operating normally, isn't he?
Talking about drones.
Talking of drones, Ed.
Talking of drones, this is an interesting one. And if you've obviously we've all heard about the fact that Amazon are will eventually be delivering with drones. Well, the UK gets its first Amazon Prime delivery activity by drone. There's a consultation for an area around its Darlington fulfillment centre for a temporary reserved area for drone trials. This is going to be 6 months from December 2025 to June 2026. Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, with up to 168 flights a day. The consultation runs until the 14th of July, and I'll stick a link in the comments a little bit later if you fancy making your input known. The temporary reserved area will be up to 700 feet and extend 12 kilometres southwest to northeast of the warehouse at Darlington. It'll be NOTAM activated. If you've got ADSB out, if you're ADSB out equipped, then you can coordinate with Teesside International Airport or Amazon to get access. If you're not ADSB equipped, then and you need access, then they need at least 12 hours notice. Amazon will be operating their Mark 30 drone. It's got a maximum weight of 37 kilos, cruises at 50 knots, and operates up to 400 feet. They're going to be equipped with an optical-based detect and avoid system, and they are ADSB out equipped as well. These are already operating in a number of locations in the US where they are doing drone delivery. And apparently the Mark 30 drone has been subjected to an aerospace grade certification process in collaboration with the FAA. So it's like everything. To be honest, having read a number of change proposals in the past for drones and TRAs, they've seemed a bit draconian. This one doesn't seem too bad, but it's worth, everything's worth a bit of scrutiny, I think. So
yeah. Absolutely.
And I'll put a link in the comments. So,
yeah, there ended the news. Although we do have a little bit of video. I don't know if you want to mention that before I play it, Ed, or.
Oh yeah, this is it's spotted on the web today. This is one of the Red Bull Air Force's guys, Kevin Coleman, demonstrating that if you put a match on your wingtip, maybe you can strike it as you roll on takeoff.
Don't do this at home, peeps.
No. Yeah, won't be doing that. That looks terrifying.
Me neither. Right. Okay, that's the end of the news. For time's marching on. Johnny, let's march us through the club news, if you would.
Yeah, so another month, which means new free landing vouchers. So this month we've got East Kirkby, Jersey, Balladoo, as we now love to call it, and Sackville Farm. So go and make the most of those. They're spread all up and down the country, which is very good. Well done, Annabelle. So yeah, go and make the most of them. If you're not a member, £5 a month or £52 for the full year, and you can join at fly.co.uk/membership. We've got loads of webinars to watch on catch up, as well as running them every month live, so you can take part in those and get all of the content on fly.co.uk. So it's a bargain. Make sure you join.
It is a bargain. It is a bargain. Great. I think it's time to bring on our guest. Here we go. There's a little bit of. There you go.
Brilliant. Right. Paul, thank you for joining us. So for people who do or don't know, joining us tonight is a well-known name in the world of historic aviation, Paul Warren Wilson. A former RAF Harrier pilot, Paul is best known as being a founder of the Plain Sailing Group and the iconic Catalina flying boat. For nearly 4 decades, I think, he's been part of flying that across Europe and beyond. I've read of water landings on the Thames to, I think, Lake Titicaca as well, and showcasing the Catalina to probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at air shows around the world. So, Paul, thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the rarity of the Cat. So how did you and the other members, firstly, find a Catalina to buy, and secondly, get proficient in flying it?
Well, finding one, we actually saw an advertisement in a certain magazine which said, "Psst, want to buy a cat?" And there was some cats for sale in South America, where they'd finished their military service. So my good friend John Watson and I went down there, had a look, and thought, interesting plane, but these were not in great shape. But it had whetted our appetite, and so we started looking a bit more. And then we found one that was coming up for sale from a Canadian company, Geoterex, and this one was based in South Africa and was up for sale, probably because it had a crack in the wings bar, but we didn't know that at the time. And so we bought this one with the help of a mortgage on my house and a loan from the bank, and persuading the company that owned it we only needed to pay half of the upfront money, and the rest we'd find somehow over the coming years. That was how we flew our first one home in 1984, back from Johannesburg area.
So we've got, Paul, just to interrupt you for a second, we've got I wasn't completely clear on the pictures. We've got some pictures with a cat that looks like it might have been around at the beginning, or is this a completely different story?
This one here is our second Catalina. The first one unfortunately sank in 1998 in Southampton water. This is the one which we have now, and that's her over in Nanaimo, Vancouver Island, and undergoing some work after we bought her, and the engines were off for rework, and an awful lot of work to be done. Nose wheel doors are missing, all sorts of things to be done. In fact, it took us 2 years to get the aeroplane ready for the ferry flight over, and she came over the Atlantic in those colours, and for the first year or two, those are the colours that she was seen at, known as the Rasta Cat, flying around from about 2002 in the UK.
Okay, sorry for the interruption, Johnny. Back to you.
That's right. That's right. So obviously the cat was used hugely during the Second World War, but it also picked up lots of jobs after the Second World War doing things.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of Catalina experience still knocking around to help you learn to operate the aeroplane?
Not that much. I mean, there was and there still is some Catalina experience around, but I guess nowadays we have probably have the lead with that, flying more hours with hours per year than most others do. And the fact is, the Catalina is not a complicated aeroplane. She's all manual control, just 2 engines, and nothing about her that's unconventional or difficult. Just a couple of things. She has a huge amount of adverse yaw. So if you've got a glider pilot, they're right at home. But if you've got a Boeing 737 pilot, then they suddenly have to find out what their feet are for after all. And you have to be active on the rudder the whole time. And then the second thing with the Catalina is she doesn't have any flaps. That's because she was built for long-range patrol and therefore has high aspect ratio, long wing relative to the chord. And that means that her stalling speed is pretty low, somewhere around 55 knots. And that means she doesn't need flaps to fly slow enough for landing. But the lack of flaps means that on finals, she's somewhat slippery, actually, even though our cruising speed is not particularly high. On finals, she's a bit slippery, and you don't want to be going fast down finals. But having said that, any competent pilot, honestly, could come and learn to fly the Catalina from land in a day or two. There's nothing special about the handling of this aeroplane.
So when you're looking at, say, if you get a display booking or you're going to visit somewhere for a promotional activity, what sort of dimensions are you looking at? If it's a lake, for example, what sort of dimensions are minimum for operating a cat?
Well, the minimum, I mean, it's in our flight manual, obviously, but the minimum landing strip that we quote for normally is 800 meters of hard runway. And that's a guide to places that we might go to. Now, obviously, it does depend upon the conditions. If we've got a wet runway, no headwind, and it's a bit downhill, then 800 meters won't do. But if we've got a dry runway, a little bit of headwind, and it's level, and conditions are good approach, and so on, 800 meters is actually plenty. We could do it in quite a bit less than that. Then, if we're looking at water, the thing is with the water, not just the landing run, but of course, we prefer to land into wind on the water. The crosswind landing is a little bit more complicated in the Catalina or in a seaplane on the water than it is on the land. And I've landed the Catalina in some huge crosswinds, best part of 40 knots actually, on the land, because she has a high wing. You can put the wing down, you have good strong rudder authority, so you can deal with a big crosswind on the land. But generally speaking, people forget that on the water we need to land more or less into wind. So we quote normally for 6,000 feet length by a couple of hundred feet minimum width. But the fact is, every place we're going to land on the water, we need to go and take a look, because we don't know what sort of obstacles there are, and people will not be familiar with what's going to happen with the aircraft on the water, and the fact that once we've landed, we can't stop. You can put the brakes on, but it sure doesn't do any good. So we have to have maneuvering room, and there's no water rudder. We're maneuvering purely by using differential engine power. And if the wind is stronger than about 15 knots, it becomes very difficult to turn from into wind to downwind. So you've landed, now you want to go back to the start of the run for takeoff. That can be quite tricky to do.
So I've only flown an hour in Cubs on floats, and the water rudder was one of those things that I constantly forgot about.
Sure.
Does the cat have, I'm assuming, a big water rudder that's hidden somewhere?
No water rudder, so no risk of forgetting it. No, we're steering just with the air rudder and with differential engine power. And of course, under certain circumstances, we can make use of aileron. For example, in that situation where we've got a strong headwind and we need to go downwind, we can turn the engines off and, as it's called, sail, where we'll let the plane drift backwards. And then we can steer, we can actually control the direction, probably 20 degrees left or right, by use of rudder and also by use of aileron, because of course, if you steer to the left, then the right aileron will go down and that will give you more drag than the left side. So you steer to the left, the nose goes to the right. So if you want the tail of the plane to go left, you put on left rudder and right aileron, for example.
It's not very precise, I presume.
Very precise here, I must say, yes. And of course, the captain will be standing up on his seat with his head sticking out of the window, looking backwards, commanding full left rudder, full right aileron, half right aileron, or whatever might be needed. So there's a lot of lag, but there is a fair degree of control. Having said that, of course, if you stop your engines on the water, all this is a balance of risk. What if you can't start again? So that doesn't happen very often, but we did have that problem on Loch Ness a few years ago, where we stopped on the water. We'd done our job. We'd been on and off the water several times. We'd stopped engines, let people in and out several times, all set to go, job done. Started up the left engine and the right engine said, not going. And that was due to the accessory drive shaft having sheared. So there was no way the engine was going to start. So these things, there is a balance of risk. And there is always a little more risk element with water operations than land operations, I would say. But we, generally speaking, make sure that we have a boat standing by so that if we can't start or we have some other problem, we can be towed to somewhere with a mooring buoy or where there is a safe space or a beach that we can beach the aircraft with the wheels down.
How about a couple of quick water videos that might be worth playing now? And then perhaps I'm going to play them one after the other, and then perhaps you can tell us what's going on in both of those. So the first one, I'm pretty sure, is just a fairly standard-looking landing, as far as I can tell. Richie looks like he was concentrating a little bit hard there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, those were taken last week at the Biscarrosse Seaplane Base, where we had 8 days of training with the Catalina and got lots of our pilots re-qualified. The shot of the aircraft, the Catalina landing, was taken by Matt Dearden, who was flying in a local flying boat, seaplane actually, flying, what is it, well, thing with floats. And what you might just have noticed there, you probably wouldn't without pre-warning, was that as the aircraft, the Catalina, touched down, there was a slight dip in the nose attitude. And one of the things that we teach and practice and make a lot of emphasis about is having the aircraft in the correct attitude for landing. And a lot of the teaching of the water rating is about achieving that attitude and being sure that you're in the correct attitude. Because, of course, if you land on the land, it's a wheel that touches down. It's round, and it doesn't really care whether the aircraft nose up, nose down, whatever. It's just a wheel. As long as you don't smack it in too hard, you probably won't bounce and you'll have a successful landing. But on the water, you're turning from a plane to a speedboat. And a speedboat will only cross the water in one particular attitude. And you touch down in the wrong attitude, then you will either skip or nose will be sucked underwater. So potentially dangerous, and so that attitude is really important. And there can be a tendency on less choppy water for the aircraft's nose to be sucked down somewhat by the hydrodynamic forces as you touch the water. So that's something we were looking at. But it was a nice landing. That was one of our newer pilots on the water, coming to the end of his training there. And then the second video was a shot of me teaching Richie Piper how to do a step taxi. So we want to go a bit further than just a slow taxi, well, displaced taxi. So we get the plane up on the step. And again, this starts off exactly like a takeoff, all the same precautions as for takeoff. And we have to let the aircraft comes up the ramp, as we call it. The nose of the aircraft is forced out of the water by the shape of the hull. Then you might have seen my hand just going like that, saying it's time to roll over onto the step now, into the planing attitude. And then again, you probably wouldn't notice it first time round, but on the front of the plane, there's an aerial with 2 black marks on it. And we use those to help each pilot with a different sitting height, of course, to get a mark that will show him when he's in the correct attitude. But that step taxi was just for maybe 30 seconds or so. And one of the harder parts of that is, in fact, throttling back. Because with a Pratt & Whitney 1830s, you do not want to throttle back a long way before you bring the revs back. So you saw my hands there bringing both the manifold pressure and the RPM back progressively, both of them.
Wow. And when you're step taxiing and just in normal ops as well, the nose gear doors, are they quite vulnerable?
It's a good question, Ed. Honestly, they should not be. And the fact is, if you have the Catalina in the correct attitude on the water, the nose gear doors will be out of the water once you're on the step. Obviously, when we're displaced, i.e. the nose is in the water, the nose gear doors should be shut. And obviously, we have ways of checking that. First of all, we have an indicator light. But secondly, we always send a crew member in to look through a particular hatch where you can see the locking pins that are in position. And that has not always been the case in the past. And the accident we had with our first Catalina was caused by one of those locking pins perhaps being slightly out and allowing us a very slight gap in the door, forcing the doors apart. So the answer is that it is a potential vulnerability. And of course, the Catalina was built as a flying boat, not as an amphibian. And there were no nose wheel doors. There was no undercarriage in the vast majority of Catalinas built. The undercarriage was an add-on. So the nose wheel doors are part of that. And over the history of Catalinas, lots of them have gone to the bottom of a lake and then been fished out by the Canadians, dried out a bit, put back together, and because of there has been a problem with the nose wheel doors. So it's a potential problem, one that we guard against, definitely.
Yeah.
Is there any aircraft that you would say it's similar to? Like, obviously, looking with the engines and the twin, obviously being a twin, maybe a DC-3.
Well, I mean, we have the same engines as a DC-3. The Pratt & Whitney 1830s, generally speaking, really good engines, one of the most reliable out there. Pratt & Whitney dependable engines. That's one of them that's been come back from the overhaul shop. But on the water, of course, nowadays there are very few large flying boats still in operation. There was the Grumman Albatross, but I think not many of those still in use. And the Grumman Albatross has, I would say, a somewhat better shape of hull. The Catalina is a really solid workhorse, but is not known for being particularly stable directionally. One of the things that we always work at after landing is no yaw. The aircraft must not be allowed to yaw at all. You must keep straight ahead. If you're into wind, that should be no problem. If you're crosswind, with a light crosswind, that's very controllable. If you have more of a crosswind, it becomes less controllable. And these factors are also affected by the conditions. So the surface condition, for example, if the water surface is glassy or nearly calm, first of all, you cannot judge your height. You really can't. I mean, I know I always thought, well, I bet I can. You can't. You cannot judge your height. So you have to use an altimeter and set up a rate of descent to come down there. But with the glassy water, the hydrodynamic suck onto the nose of the airplane is very strong. So there's a strong tendency for the nose to go down. And if the nose goes down, the plane is less stable directionally. So you must be ready for a pullback. And the Catalina is a very physical airplane. The controls are all manual. And when we get airborne, we're about to take off, we pull the stick nearly fully back, half right aileron, re-grip it, hands on the throttle. It's a really physical airplane. And it takes the other pilot to assist pulling back on the control column as well. So for the landing, firstly, if it's flattish water, there's a bigger hydrodynamic suck and less strong directional stability. And then the second thing is, if there's a light wind, you might think, well, that's nice light wind for landing. Actually, we'd like about 10 to 12 knots, because that means the water speed at touchdown is lower. Our airspeed is about 70 to 72 knots. So if there's no wind, we're looking at 70 to 70 knots water speed. If there's 10 knots of headwind, we've got 60 knots water speed, less hydrodynamic effect. And the third reason why the landing is perhaps more critical than to takeoff, on takeoff, you've got full power on. You've got loads of slipstream crossing the rudder and really good rudder authority. So that if you have for some reason a slight deviation, you can sort that out, no problem with the rudder. But if you have the landing with a low power set, even if you've left that trickle of power on after landing, which is perfectly okay, you've got very little or greatly reduced rudder authority. So put all those things together and the landing becomes more critical than the takeoff, definitely, in terms of directional control.
Those out on the end of the wings, you've got retractable floats, haven't you? Do you notice, do they have quite a big effect on the way the aeroplane flies when you put them up and down?
They do. They reduce the directional stability, Ed. They're basically like a fin in the forward part of the aeroplane. So the plane's got pretty poor directional stability to start with. You have to use your feet on the rudder the whole time you're flying. If you don't, the people down the back are going to be sick for sure. You have to use the rudder. And when the floats go down, you have to use the rudder just a bit more. So yeah, it reduces that stability. But surprisingly, when you're on the water, you don't really notice at all if a float touches the water. If you're landing, we don't want the floats in the water. That's a bit of unnecessary stress. They're strong enough if you're running straight that they can handle that no problem, but you don't actually notice it. And you might think, if you've never flown a seaplane, when you touch down on the water, it'd be a bit like landing on treacle, and you'd really slow down. It's not like that. You skim across it like a pond of mercury. And the same thing with the floats. You don't feel them hitting the water, but you do hear the trainer saying to you, wings level, wings up, because they're quite a long wingspan, and you only need a couple of degrees to put the floats close to the water.
Talking about the glassy water landing, the other end of the scale from glassy water landing, how much of a wave height do you take on your ops, and how much can the Catalina take?
The Catalina can take 3 feet roughly.
But
the question is it chop or is it swell? And the difference is the wavelength. So if it's chop, by which I mean short period waves, which have a wavelength much less than the length of the aeroplane, so a wave every 6 feet or something, the plane, the hull just cuts through those like a knife through butter. And so a 1 foot wave height, if it's just been blown up by the local wind, is absolutely no problem at all. 2 foot and it's getting a bit wet. If it was just 2 foot and you had 10 knots of headwind, we can handle that okay. Well, we wouldn't take more than that. But if there is a swell, by which I mean it's been blown and developed over hundreds of miles of sea, and so really a swell normally would only be on a large area of water like an ocean. Even if you've got 6 inches to a foot of swell, this is really rough. And of course, people say, well, land along the swell. Yeah, well, that's all very well, land along the swell, but the swell is not regular. And if you do land along the swell and it was regular, you're going to have to land going sideways because the swell's moving. And as you slow down, you have to turn a corner to stay with the swell. So it's all a bit theoretical and complicated. But swell is on the aeroplane. So that's not something we normally would want to land on. But I have in the past around the coast of Italy quite a few times.
3 feet. Can you imagine landing in bloody 3 feet of chop? That must be bone shaking.
Well, this is the thing. It's not bone shaking if it's just chop. If it was 3 foot of swell, you're probably going to break the aeroplane, to be honest. I'm sure they did that in the wartime days where the planes were not expected to last more than a few months. But 3 feet of chop is doable. It's a bit rough and choppy, and you're going to get water all over the cockpit and make it hard to see after landing. So yeah, we don't want to be doing that. That's not something we would expect to do. We'd expect to be looking at 1 foot, 18 inches. That's no problem at all. That's not rough on the airplane at all.
Yeah. So a couple of couple of quick gratuitous pictures for people here. This is particularly spectacular.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty much on takeoff. That's full power going on for takeoff. The nose just rising up out of the water.
I presume with stuff like that, Paul, are the props at risk from kind of spray?
The props get damaged, but what we try to do is, excuse me, put the power on progressively. And now, before we take off, normally we'll go round and round in circles a couple of times. This is a holding maneuver, which is very predictable for any boats who are trying to come and get in the way. They can see what you're doing, where you're going. So it's a minimum risking. That also creates some calm water, actually, where the plane has been circling. And then we'll just go a tiny bit downwind, 100 yards or so, turn around and come through that calm water. And as we come through that calm water, the stick will be nearly fully back, half right aileron, stick held, and the power will start going on as we hit that calm water. Now the nose will be coming up out of the water. So by the time we get to the slightly choppier stuff, the power will be higher up. And in this way, we don't really damage the props much at all. If you put on high power in chop, then yes, you're going to get a lot of pitching on the leading edge of the blades. But we found that with that sort of technique I described, we don't normally get that. So yeah, there's a risk element, but not too bad.
And this picture, this looks like a flight in a cold place.
That's chilly up north in Greenland. Yes, we took a group of students, teachers, and medic, and all that sort of thing on a trip of a lifetime. We dumped them in the middle of nowhere in Greenland on a lake, Faxa Lake, and 150 miles inland from Constable Point. And that was sort of glassy water with ice on it on the way up the fiord, getting to the dumping ground. Then they were on their own for 3 weeks, and going past the iceberg on the way back.
Wow.
Yeah, presumably that's. I think that was that in Greenland.
That's in Greenland. That's a Constable Point, a dirt airstrip that was built a good while ago. I think it may not even be in use anymore now. And we had to tanker some fuel in. The Catalina can take a lot of fuel in the wings, and then we unloaded it into some drums, made our flight inland, reloaded fuel, came back to Reykjavik, retanked, and went back and did the repeat for the recovery operation. That was a really successful trip. And interestingly, one of those things with landing on the water is you always want to land into wind. Now, how do you know where the wind's from? Well, look at the boats. No boats in Greenland on the lake in the middle of nowhere. Look at the wind. On any wind lanes, none. Look at the smoke, no smoke. So there was basically nothing. Look at the birds, no birds. So you can use your GPS and take your ground speed and airspeed. So I headed in from one end of the lake, airspeed 90, ground speed 100. Aha, I know what's happening here. Coming from the other end of the lake, airspeed 90, ground speed 100. Now what? Huh? So, but the air was coming in and going up in the middle of the lake like that. Extraordinary. So we just landed from the middle of the lake into the second half. But quite an interesting phenomenon.
So bringing things back to earth with a bit of a bump, I guess. What are the kind of operating costs of something like Catalina?
Per year, we're talking a couple of 100,000 on a tight budget. And of course, it depends how much you fly. But you look at insurance is a big cost. Engineering is a big cost. We have to have a full-time engineer. We have a couple actually. Fuel is quite a big cost. And then there are lots of other ancillaries. We pay the CAA £10,000 a year just for our authority to train and test our pilots. I guess those are the bigger costs, but there will then be the running costs like tires, can easily be £5,000 a tire. Engines, we need a new engine rather too often, and that's probably getting on for $100,000 US. And then props likewise, they have to be overhauled every 10 years and lesser inspections more frequently than that. So the engine of the props which the Catalina uses are relatively available because they're the same as for the DC-3. So there are lots of them out there, or there have been. But of course, these things are gradually getting more scarce and gradually getting that bit more expensive.
They still sound more available and cheaper than a bloody standard Lycoming these days, to be honest with you.
Well, they are, exactly, yes.
A waiting list than $120,000 for a new one.
It's a funny thing that.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
Yeah, and obviously as warbirds go, the Catalina's a little bit accessible, isn't it? Because I think I'm right in saying that you do shares do come up in it, don't they?
Sure, we do. Yes, we run it by having a group of shareholders who own it and get to fly on it. Some of them are pilots and they get their type rating and fly on it. Some of them are enthusiasts and they have a great chance. The Catalina is a great plane for a group because we can take actually 2 pilots plus 14 as a maximum in the plane. We don't normally do that. It gets a bit unmanageable. We normally operate with 2 pilots plus 4 crew when we go to an air show because it's a big plane. It takes a lot to refuel it, oil it, clean it, do all the jobs associated. Plus we like to sell some trinkets and show people on board. Yeah. And then we always keep a couple of seats for our shareholders to come along for a trip as well. And so by having these different streams of income, some from our shareholders, some from what the plane will earn at air shows, some from our supporters club where we sell trinkets and show people on board for a fee, you put all those things together and it makes the project viable. Whereas just, taking a plane to fly to air shows is an idealistic thing and there's no way enough income from that.
And if anyone's interested in that, is there a website?
Well, of course there is, yes. CatalinaBookings.org. You can come and find us on there. That's just if you Google Catalina, you'll soon find out. You can look on the Catalina Society website, and you'll find a link to a prospectus which has got full details of our shareholding and options to come and join us, get some flying time, and have some fun.
I will put a link in the comments.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Paul. Just one quick question: if you could revisit one place that you've landed, Catalina, where would it be?
If I could revisit one place, it would be Lake Titicaca, I guess, because what I did there wasn't exactly a landing, it was a smack. But of course, you've got the problem there that you're up high and your true airspeed is about 90 knots when you're coming into land. So, and I had less experience then. I'd have a better chance now, but I'll probably just have a good look at it, but not actually touch down.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Well, great. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. That was very interesting.
That's fantastic, Paul. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
It must be time for Fantasy Hangar. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul. And that website that I put on there in the link looks to be like for the members. So what I will do is pop the plain sailing. There we go, Catalina.org as well. Looks like the more general cat news and stuff. So, but yeah, fantastic. If you fancy that, it is a great looking warbird, isn't it? And yeah, what a thing. So,
I got to fly it once.
You got to go, didn't you? Because they were on the lookout for shareholders, and I think you got an invite to go along.
Yeah, there was someone else. I think Greeners was going to fly it.
Right.
I was supposed to pick Greeners up from Kemble, and I can't even remember where the airplane was. But so I'm like overhead. I'm pretty sure this was it. I was overhead Kemble. Kemble was fogged in, and we waited waiting for it to clear to see if it cleared, and it didn't. So we just had to carry on to Duxford and say that the person who was going to fly it wasn't there, and I was going to have to do it.
Oh no,
that was the story. It's quite a while ago, and it's a big old beast.
It is, but it's great to see. It's great to see a group operating that with such enthusiasm, really. So
yeah, and I think I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I'm allowed to, and I'm getting old. I was like, I'm a bit fussy about trim. If an airplane's not in trim, it just makes it 10 times harder to fly the bloody thing. So I thought, I'd sort the trim out, and I go, bloody trim kit. I go, why can't I trim it? And it turned out there was like a couple of people in the back walking backwards and forwards. It was like,
yeah, not a problem for most people flying an aeroplane where people can't walk around. That must be it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Anyway,
yeah. So obviously, Fancy Hangar. We heard about the joy of seaplane ops from our guest Paul Warren Wilson. So we thought, hey, let's go looking in the classifieds for seaplane treasures of our own. Who is first?
It's young Dave first.
Young Dave, what did you find?
Well, I'm aware of the time, so we've got to zip through this. I found an AN2, which is a biplane, turbine amphibian. So here it is.
Oh, wow.
It is spectacular. It's the normal engine on an AN2 is oh God, how else do you say this?
It's a
9-cylinder air-cooled radial.
Yeah.
So, but there's this Canadian company is doing this conversion, and they've also at the same time redone the panel. There's an awful lot of switches there, but I guess many of them are just contact breakers, but circuit breakers. And but no, it's got full avionics and new avionics, and this is what it is. The whole thing's been rebuilt. It's for sale by a company called Raptor Aviation, which is based in Florida. But the people doing the conversions to Solitude, they're called, are based in Calgary in Canada. And I think it's a bargain, really.
And it's got a camper interior, isn't it?
It's got a whole kitchen galley and loo and bathroom, everything.
It's a bargain. How much of a bargain is it?
Well, not that much of a bargain. It's quite a lot of money. 2.4 million.
2.4 million? 2.4 million? You could probably buy 2.4 million real AN2s for that much money.
Probably, but I think that's unique. I think that might be unique in being on floats because I think they made the floats for it. It is amazing.
Wow, makes my one look cheap. And as I'm up next, I'm gonna show you this one briefly because I reckon people should just vote for me. Grubber Goose turbine. There you go. 2 PT6s, absolutely stunning, fantastic aircraft. So yeah, that could do with a little bit of an update maybe, but it's not too bad, is it? What do you reckon?
That's a flight that's stuck in the 90s, isn't it?
I know, that's why I switched off a bit quickly because it made me feel a bit.
I have to say that looks good with 2 PT6s.
It looks great with 2 PT6s, and it's yours for a mere 2.2 million. I reckon you could sell both of those PT6s, break the rest, and still make money if you got bored with it. That would be a great airplane to have a little fly around.
But that does look like a fun bus. That looks good.
It does. That's what I'm going for.
However, if you want more of a fun bus, then you need my choice because I found this for sale with Platinum Warbirds was this lovely Grumman Mallard, built in 1950. It's got 13,000 hours on it, but it's had a 4-year restoration where it's completely taken apart and completely gone through, and it's got an all-new Garmin glass cockpit. It's got 2 600 Pratt & Whitney 1430 radials. Those have been overhauled and the props have been done. Everything's basically been done. And this has amounted to an aeroplane that you can buy for 1.2 million, which I think, compared to your other two, that is that's a cheap, nearly new seaplane. And it's got space for you and 10 friends. So I reckon that's a winner. And it's a good looker too.
Well, maybe.
But that just leaves Johnny.
Yeah, I've gone old school, so I've gone for a 1929 Traveller 6000.
Oh yeah,
and this is the only known S6000B that's got equipped for wheels, floats, and skis. So yeah, right, R9 750, 8.5, 9,000 hours on the airframe. It's been recovered and restored twice over the past almost 100 years. Sorry, almost 100 years. Yeah, I think it looks gorgeous. But the best bit about it, if you look at behind the rear fuselage window, there is a little round porthole, and that porthole contains.
Yes. Yes. And this is my brilliant fact, my brilliant fancy hanger fact. I have sat on that loo. Oh. Obviously not to use, but I had to do a photo job once with that aeroplane, so I got to go in that bathroom. So it is smaller than
on the loo. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sorry to break the tradition, but if there's only one of them, everyone thinks it looks great. I think it looks a bit ugly.
It's got character, and if you could see it inside, and if you had more photos, it's got wicker seats. It's got wicker seats attached to the floor. It's a proper piece of period passion. That so.
I don't think it's the prettiest there. Anyway, what are people saying?
Well, I am very happy to say, Ed comfortably leading. Ed wins. Ed wins. Ed has it. Ed wins. Ed easily. Ed. Oh, there is a Johnny. Ridders.
There are several Johnnies there.
With a view, really, Ridders. Ed, if you say Auster, I'll vote for you. Well, maybe that's Ed wins. Johnny wins. What else have we got? Not this week, Dave. Dave, well, there was a Dave wins.
I don't think
There
so.
doesn't appear to be an Ian wins at all. Ian, never thought I'd say this. Good choice.
Thank you, Midlife EPL.
Mallard has the correct. I think, though, Johnny wins, Ed wins, Johnny wins. I think, I think it might be.
Have to find a more scientific way of doing this in future, I think.
What is counting the votes?
Well, only counting the votes, but I think we're going to have to find a way of, I reckon.
We need the Facebook. We need the push your buttons now.
A cow turd, and it'd still win, probably.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, I think it's an Ed wins night. I will take that one because I think that's my choice is good. How much was your
what no, no.
Every time? How much was your fair chart? Your travel there, Johnny?
600,000.
A bargain.
It's not too bad. It's not bad. Yeah, I think Dave's is the most overpriced one of the whole lot. To be honest with you.
Well, it's on those floats. It's like a block of flats. So anyway, events.
Right. What's going on in the events thing? Quickly.
Okay, right. Friday to Saturday, it's the Guernsey Air Rally. Saturday the 7th, supposed to be a busy day, but it may not be. Grumman flying at Carlisle, Vintage Piper flying at Brayton, Manchester Barton flying, and there's supposed to be an LA flying at Oaksey Park.
That's cancelled.
It's cancelled, yeah. Before going for any of these, you better check.
Yeah, and I think Vintage Pipers may have shifted to the Sunday as well because they're all a bit scared of the weather.
Saturday and Sunday, there's the Microlite Championships at Damon's Hall. So suspect they may be flying Sunday only as well.
Yeah.
And Spanfield after that. Right, one more thing just before we go. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and join the club if you possibly can. Thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, everyone out there. Have a great flying weekend, at least on Sunday. It looks a bit pants on Saturday. We'll see you next Wednesday if you're a member, next Thursday if you're not, and if you're not, you should be. Thank you very much, everybody. See y'all soon.